Heda, the word guidance, is a word containing information. The child knows that he must suckle his mother in order not to starve. But what kind of information is this? Is it experiential information? No, there is no experiential information. Because the child has not experienced before what it means to survive, what it means to starve, what it means to die. What does sucking not know then? What do we call this information? The intuitive side of guidance. There are children who approach those coming from outside. You brought your brother, give us candy, etc. Okay, fine, you give it. The child is something like that. Then we discovered that we are with friends because now the child says, give me candy, I understand. But he said about the child next to him, he is very bad, don't give it to him, give it to me. As I said, this is a different thing. The fact that it is from God, that knowledge, the inner light of seeing ahead, is placed inside me by Him, gives confidence. The most basic category.
Hello everyone from Istanbul School. Dear viewers, today we will discuss the concepts of providence and guidance in the context of verse 50 of Surah Taha. Our guest is Prof. Dr. Şaban Ali Düzgün. Hello Hoja. We want to examine the concepts of appreciation and hidayat in detail with you today. We use these concepts frequently and consciously in our daily lives, but you attribute a different meaning to them. How would you evaluate both their meaning and their relationship with each other in the context of Surah Taha?
We have two beautiful words. These are key terms of the Quran. They are also words that different disciplines, philosophy, mysticism, ethics, theology, have conceptualized, deepened, processed, reinterpreted. Now, when I consider such terms of the Quran, there seems to be a contraction of meaning due to the fact that the Arabic word, let's say the word hidayat, has been transferred into Turkish as it is. For example, what kind of connotations, fields of meaning come to your mind when you hear the word hidayat?
You have a use like may Allah guide you.
May Allah guide you, okay? Or we will guide you, okay? But what is the genetics, the genealogy of the word? What is the word heda? When you open it, what comes out of it? What does it evolve into? How does it transform? The network of words it is related to is important. Because a word gains meaning, its meaning changes, expands or narrows within another network, a network of meanings and relationships. In the context of this verse, in the context of Surah Taha, verse 50, we will take both the word hidayah and the word hidayah in the ah. The word we call fate or takdir, again, we all use in Turkish, that is halk, huluk. Hilkat is a person's character, natural structure, or sometimes temperament. These things change, but character is a good word that we use there in Turkish. It is a suitable and appropriate response. The Holy Quran has used it here. Therefore, we will analyze, and try to unravel this web a little bit. But one verse before we say, look at this politically, that is the context. If we go back one verse, our context is this. This is a very interesting context. Prophet Moses and Aaron are going to Pharaoh together. There is an invitation. Allah, Lord, come give up your claims. There is a new claim here. They say there is God. Now Pharaoh may have asked them with the intention that either I will ask them a question that they will not know, or I will ask you a question that you will not know, and you will be left with that. But the question is, Pharaoh said, Faman Rabukuma ya Musa, you say that you too have the Lord and come to him. Faman Rabukuma, who is your Lord? Now the question of who is a question that does not ask about God's essence, that is his existence, but perhaps his quality, his function, his trace, his influence. Sometimes that is used instead of existence, but when we talk about existence, we go read and interpret it more in terms of the manifestation of that existence in the external world, its manifestation, its appearance with names, with esme. But what kind of person is the essence? The question of who is a question about the essence. The question Pharaoh asked Moses, who is the one you call Lord? Now, technically, logically, Moses should answer the question of who is Allah. But he does not answer the question. He gives an answer that points not to who God is, but to what he does, how he acts, how he directs. Moses said, Rabbuna, our Lord. Now I am waiting for the answer to the question of who. But the answer to the question of who does not come. Moses answers the question of what he does. There is a tactical question there. There is a tactical answer here as well. It is said that do not think about the essence of Allah. It is conveyed as a hadith. Do not think about the essence of Allah. Think about what His creations do. In a sense, that hadith is like a commentary on the Taha Surah. It gives the characteristics of creation to everything. Then it is the one who shows him the direction and guidance in a way that is suitable for these creation features. Now, our key word here in the first part is people, in a sense that people is an example of creation and appreciation. If I were to tell you a human being is a human being, what comes to mind? Mention the two most basic characteristics of a human being able to think, being able to speak, being mortal, being able to grieve. But what is the most basic characteristic? In other words, what separates humans from other beings, from other species? The characteristics that make humans common to other beings in logic, and also the characteristics that separate them from other beings. Two things work in two logics. There is no third. Uniting, Iran. What unites me with other beings? For example, biological vitality. There are impulses, instincts, reflexes. We call these our unifying features. What is the separating feature? Beings don't talk. No being speaks. They can communicate. Birds communicate. Dogs communicate when they bark. They may be saying something to each other. We don't know that, but we know they cannot speak. My late teacher, Hussein Atta, used to give an example. He says that if a horse going ahead meets a fallen tree blocking the road in a forest, it cannot inform those coming from behind that this road is blocked and there is a great danger here. So there is no such communication, no such conversation, no meaningful conversation. The teacher always gave this example.
So there is not really a message here.
It doesn't. It cannot convey a meaningful message. Therefore, speaking, forming a meaningful sentence distinguishes, differentiates, and positions human beings from all other species. Every being has a character that is built into its nature. This character is also predestined, determined, fixed. It is my destiny. What is my destiny? That is, what is predestined for me. I am a being who speaks. I am a being who thinks, who questions, who tries to understand. I am a being who gets sad when something very bad happens. I am a being who is affected. I am a being who feels anxiety. All these are my nature, my character traits, my inner structure. And all these things have been appreciated. They have been imposed on me. I didn't buy them in the market. Black, white, yellow race, all of them. This has been ordained for all human beings, for the human species, regardless of language or religion. Well, we have ordained it, and then God has ordained you to be like this, so go and find your own way, go and find your own way, but He says something behind it. He does not leave His creation unattended. He does not leave it to itself. He is integrating something into it. What is that? Faheda. Atakulau shayin kalkahu, appreciating and giving everything its own character traits. Then fahada. Then He guides it. Now this word heda or hidayat, we say the one who shows the way. For example, it is used here. Allah creates man and gives him the qualities He has ordained for him. And then He shows him a direction so that he can use those qualities in the right way. This is the phenomenon of guidance. A baby is born. In order not to die of pain, it immediately rushes to its mother's breast to feed with its own reflexes and instincts without a teacher. Is that right? Right. Here it uses the word heda, the Holy Quran.
In other words, it is a reflex necessary for survival.
Just like in order to survive in the biological sense, there is nothing mental here, there is no knowing, then the word hidayet is a word containing information. The child knows that he needs to suckle his mother in order not to starve. But what kind of information is this? Is it empirical information? No, there is no empirical information because the child has not experienced before that neither survival nor starvation nor death. What does Emek not know then? What do we call this knowledge? The intuitive side of guidance. In other words, guidance primarily includes intuitive knowledge. What does this mean? It is something we bring into our structure by integrating without teaching. For example, we hit the back of a person's neck to steal the bread from his hand and take the morsel from his mouth of a weak person. Whether you set a moral rule or a legal rule or not, it is known by everyone in all geographies that this is bad. It has been known in all ages. Is it true? How is it known?
So it's something that is known to humans as well. In animals, the strong one crushes the weak one and takes their own rights.
What is this for a person who knows ethical values and moral values? The East is in their nature. This knowledge is without a teacher. No one taught us this. So how do we know this? This is built into our nature. It is He who gives them those character traits, integrates them there, embeds them, and then guides them. This is the intuitive side of guidance. There is a verse in the Holy Quran. It may seem like an objection to this. It is said, when you were brought forth from your mother's wombs, that is to say, when you were born, you knew nothing, in quotation marks, nothing. Now it is said that a person came out of his mother's womb and was born and does not know anything according to the verse. But what did we say a moment ago? When a person is born, the baby tends to suckle its mother. The verse says that it knows something, then it does not know. No, you do not know something. What does something mean? It means existence. It means the external world. It does not yet have any knowledge of the external world. That is empirical knowledge. That will come, the empirical knowledge of man later, a knowledge that he learned. Therefore, is a person born with tabula rasa, that is an empty mind. His mind is empty in terms of experience, but he is full of intuition. Those intuitions know what goodness is. The Quran does not define what justice is to you. It accepts that a person knows justice. It says, be fair. How do we know? Because it is integrated into our structure. It is integrated. So we said that the word guidance contains information. But that information is either intuitive information or experiential information that I started to learn later. Now, the mind starts to fill with taboos, which are empty slates with experience. What will a child know? You show the tree, this is the tree, then this is an apple tree, this is a pear tree. So what we call obvious is this. It is obvious that it is an apple. It is obvious that it is not a pear. We choose. Look, we teach, he learns little by little. It is a process of experience. But there is another basis for guidance, that is rational, intellectual knowledge. This means this. By reasoning, you start to distinguish some things, but this does not apply to everything. For example, this intuitive knowledge is not like that. I mean, let's say we take a morsel from someone's hand, right? If you ask someone in a strong way, well, I've done something like this. Is this good or bad? Now let me think. Let me see. You've taken his apple. You've stolen it. You've taken away his bread. He's not going to say, let me think. Is this bad or good? This is not something to think, to reason. This is intuitively known. This is bad.
Teacher, how can we explain the evil in childhood then? I mean, we see that it is a cruel childhood, that children sometimes harm other children in order to get something for themselves. If it is not innate, how should we understand this?
They are childish instincts, reflexes. People can continue those reflexes in the future. Let me give you an example. While I was walking around Urfa in Harran, we went out and there were children in Harran. They were approaching people coming from outside. You brought your brother, give us candy, etc. Okay, fine, you give it. The child said something like that. We discovered it then. I said, we are with friends. It is incredible. What kind of a thing is this? Because now the child says, I understand giving me candy, but he said this about the child next to him. He is so bad. I told him not to give it to me. This is a separate thing now. Why are you wasting that child? This is interesting. I think this is something that is taught or seen. I mean, it is understandable for a child to want candy for himself, but wasting someone else, that goes into ethics. It goes into morality. It is not reflexive. I mean, this is something that is learned, if you ask me.
In other words, the bad side can be something that is learned and adapted to with society, but the good side can also be something that is learned.
Well, of course, we say this. Human beings have an instinctual side, a reflex side. For example, the instinct to take someone's bread away from them exists in human beings, and the instinct to give them bread also exists in human beings. In other words, there is the instinct to do good and the instinct to do evil. These potentials are innately loaded into human beings and placed on the map of their existence. The Holy Quran says, فَإِلْهَمَهَا, it has encoded into the nature of the human being the character traits that we have just talked about, fukuraha and taqwa, what is good and what is bad. What he calls inspiration is intuitive knowledge. He gave it as inspiration. In other words, he intuitively coded it into him. Human beings are naturally inclined towards the good. They gravitate towards it. They feel affinity. Theologians call this mulayamet. He is also inclined towards evil. This is called munakarat or nukur. It can also be inclined towards what is bad and ugly. Well, which one? If we guide him, if we train him to choose which one, he grows, develops, and deepens in that direction. So you can raise a child to be a thief or a generous, benevolent person. I say when you magnify the goodness of one side, the badness shrinks, fades, recedes into the background. When you magnify evil, goodness decreases. There is an inverse proportion. The important thing here is this. The Quran is a very sophisticated, very complicated world for a person who is included in it. It is very superior and sublime that the word guidance, which is shown and revealed by Allah, is connected to Allah. Allah shows the way. This is a valuable, meaningful, fundamental thing, but I insist here that it involves knowing, it involves knowledge. It is not just an emotional orientation, it is a rational, cognitive process. Let's explain this with an example that everyone can understand. Navigation. We all went to Kosovo with our friends as part of a project. We landed in Pristina, we picked up our car at the airport, we opened the navigation, we are on our way to Prizren. I don't know anything. Although I have been there before, I didn't take the car from Pristina. For the first time we got in the car, we turned on the navigation. For me, the Latins call it terra incognita, so we are in unknown territory. We are almost in a world without a map. Born, let's say, someone who is thrown into the world, he will lead a life in unknown lands, he will seek direction, he will face options. God has uploaded it to navigation. Where to go is not safe, where there is no shortcut traffic. Let's say all these roads are a very good navigation company. You get the service, you open it safely, you go without any hesitation. Even if it takes you to the top of the mountain, would you say that it brought you here because it is definitely safer and shorter here? You would say very reliable biruma. Therefore, the word hidayah here means that the guidance is from Allah, and the fact that the guidance is from Allah and that the inner light of that knowledge to see ahead of me has been placed in me by Him gives me confidence, the most basic category. With that confidence, I start exploring everything that has been ordained and I start traveling there. The inner light of that guidance in me is the luminous natural inner light in Descartes, but its source is God. With that trust, I take my path in unknown lands.
This example is more explanatory, teacher. In other words, when he loses his way, he doesn't ask why he got lost.
Let friends remember this.
Recreating the route.
It also recreates the route. Very nice.
They will definitely reach the right destination on the right path. Thank you very much for your valuable comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear viewers, today we discussed the concepts of appreciation and guidance in the context of verse 50 of Surah Taha. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.